My name is Jason S.C. Fung. I'm the host of Vanilla Club podcast. Today's episode has us talking all things honey. Yes, bees. Yes, apiary, the fancy word for beehive. Firstly, we're joined by Zac Peterson, owner of Cairns Native Bee and Hinterland Hives. Zac is an expert beekeeper of both Australian native stingless bees and European bees, and has helped us install our very own apiary here at Vanilla Club, which is backed by a wall of pristine national forest and features prominently in this video. Zac's passion is to preserve bees and to make the most bee-sensitive products possible. He has a wealth of knowledge that he is very happy and candid in sharing with us. The bee world is a little like a insect Game of Thrones. It's an intricate, sometimes brutal world. And you'll forgive me for anthropomorphizing them a bit, but it's amazing the stuff they can do as a collective. The hive mind, it's really another one of these cliches that, as much as we'd like to avoid, is inescapably true. We are also joined by one of our very own Vanilla Club team members, Anoob Davidraj, who is our cultivation technician. Anoob knows a thing or two about bees himself, and he's really taken a leadership role with the development of our apiary here at Vanilla Club. We can't wait to share our own Vanilla Club honey concoctions, all artisan made, with you in due course. And since this episode was recorded immersed in the natural environment, right alongside the apiary, embedded in the national park, there's a slight backing track provided by the insects, birds, and all of the elements in North Queensland. We hope you enjoy. Jason S.C. Fung from Vanilla Club on the Vanilla Club podcast. We're here live at Vanilla Club. One of the opportunities to give you a little bit of green after looking at that ugly white cubicle that you've seen in so many of our videos. I would like to acknowledge First Australians and their continuing connection to country, community, and culture. And with that, I would like to welcome two special guests that we have today. On my right, we have Zac joining us on site. And today we're going to talk honey, we're going to talk about bees, we're going to talk a little bit about organic honey, we're going to talk about this amazing natural system that the queen and her bees create. And with us too, we have one of our teammates, Anoob Davidraj, who is our cultivation technician, someone who appears very serious and, of course, has a lot of qualifications, but is a very lovable guy and brings a great sense of humor to his work. So welcome, guys. Thanks for coming on. Zac, let's start with you. Let's talk about this lovely product range that you've got. I can see the infused honey.
Yep.
There's, you mentioned some of the organic honey, this fantastic range, including one of my favorite products is the lippy.
Lip balm. Yep. Yeah, so I'm Zac from Cairns Native Bee and Hinterland Hives. So we focus on preserving bees and also making the most pure products we can. So all of our ingredients here are 100% harvested from our own hives, from our bees, which we keep in national parks and rainforests. So they're far away from pesticides and all chemicals. We find that very important. So we've got a pure honey range that comes in 3 different sizes. We get around 14 different flavors through the year as the different trees and eucalypts are flowering. So everything's very seasonal. So as a beekeeper, you're always in tune with what's flowering around you and you become very much a part of the environment. And then we also cold infuse into a number of different flavors. We have rosemary, citrus, star anise, and also our most popular, the red dragon fruit. So it's another very tropical fruit, suiting very well to a tropical environment. Now, our main passion is the native bees of Australia. So a lot of people don't actually know in Australia, or have no idea in Australia, there's actually nearly 2,000 different types of bees native to Australia. And only 11 of them live together in a hive with a queen and produce honey. The other 1,600 plus are all solitary. So we've actually discovered 1,600 plus, but they reckon there's around 2,000. So the amazing thing about the native bee honey, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of Manuka. Now, Manuka is quite renowned. It's had a lot of publicity, but not a lot of people know the native bee honey comes out standard twice as strong as the most potent Manuka you can get.
Wow.
So it is actually the most potent honey in the world when it comes to that. Other factors as well is they have a rare sugar only the native bees make. It's called trehalose. Now, this sugar will not spike your blood sugar levels at all or cause tooth decay. So many different products from the native bees, pollen, their wax. I'd just like to show you guys the difference in color. So this is a candle that I've made from a European beehive. Yeah, of course. And then this is propolis, what we call propolis, because it's a mixture of wax, detritus materials, and resins. And have a smell of that too.
Can I?
Of course. So there's a big difference in smell between both of them. And that resin, that propolis, is actually what infuses into the native bee honey, how they store it in the hive. They use this as a building material to store it in pots. And that is actually what gives all of the medicinal properties to the honey. So it's a very, very remarkable substance. This is just collected from the environment around the bees.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, of course, we have the usual other things, the honeycomb, etc. So here's your beautiful honeycomb. This is as fresh as you can get honey. This is straight from the hive. This is a frame we've pulled out of the hive and literally cut up. And yeah, there we go.
And that comb, I mean, it's just a wonderful texture.
I'll show you that again
I mean,
too. You can, if you have a look at that, you can see the front and back side.
Yeah, look at that. You know, it's
and
like
you can actually see if you...
sacred geometry, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so wild.
It said that bees knew about this millions of years ago, the perfect shape.
Yes, that's another thing that blows me away about the bees. So the hexagon is actually the strongest shape for the least amount of materials possible. So for example, a lot of people think circles are the strongest shape, but if you were to put a bunch of circles together, you'd obviously have a bit of space in between all the circles. So the hexagons allow them to use the least amount of resources. So it's basically the most efficient use of all their space, materials, and time. That's quite incredible.
That is incredible. Thank you again for a wonderful introduction. And I think you've got a fantastic range here. You know, everything from the day-to-day honey that someone might put in their muesli or their yogurt, and some of the more special occasion type of honey, you know, and it's a fantastic thing. I love the thing about what you mentioned about the tooth decay, right? You know? And what is that? How is that is it that it doesn't cause tooth decay?
Yeah, so the sugar is actually a very basically prehistoric sugar to the human body. Our bodies don't know how to break it down as quickly as other sugars. It's actually so slow that it doesn't actually cause a spike in your glucose levels, your GI levels at all. So that's how it's able to not spike your blood sugar levels. And the actual compound of trehalose, it just works in a special way that it won't cause tooth decay like other sugars do. The University of Sydney is doing a lot of research on the native bee honey, and even I think in the last couple of weeks they found something else amazing about the native bee honey, that it doesn't lose potency when it's exposed to heat or light, unlike other honeys do. So you can't heat other honeys, not that we would ever heat our honeys at all, but if you were, it's good for knowledge for if you wanted to use it topically, because then it's exposed to your body heat, the sunlight as well, and it won't actually lose its effect. So a lot of times we use the native bee honey for infections, burns, really high-end injuries and stuff like that as well.
On Vanilla Club Podcast, we are attempting to go back to basics, That's our sort of spiel, our shtick with the show is average people engaging with complexity, not because we're experts, not because we attempt to be specialist, but because the world is a complex place.
Yes.
And that some level of comfort with complexity is required. So let's talk a little bit about bees and the social structure in the hives. We've had a number of conversations about that.
Plenty.
And it's a great opportunity as we sit next to this burgeoning apiary that we're so excited about, and looking at your finished products that you've harnessed, you've honed over many years now. Let's talk about a bee. What makes them special creatures? What gets you excited about them?
It's got to be their dedication to working together, not caring about their own interests, putting the hive above all else, and just the way in which the social cohesion, they have special orders, which everyone knows their place within the hive. The social aspect of it really blows me away, how millions of little critters are able to communicate together and get the same job done.
And at the same time, though, they can be absolutely merciless, though.
Yeah, that's just a situational thing that they have to take, right? Like hive robbing, the thing that we talked about.
Yeah, that's usually when you'll get the bees a little bit grumpier.
Yeah,
When they get a bit grumpy.
Where
Yes.
they could be really defensive about the colony, and they just do raid the stuff, like...
Yes, when it comes to taking their stores, they don't like it. They like to keep their honey. But it's in their best interest to take honey from them.
But that's a rare occurrence as well. It doesn't happen. It happens only when the resources are low.
Exactly.
And they feel like the hive is under threat. We need to do a raid. Let's go, full on.
So my favorite saying is, you want to be a beekeeper, not a bee robber.
Right.
So you always want to
Not a bee
make
robber.
sure they have enough and they're happy.
Yeah. And when it comes to organics as well, it's pretty much a tricky thing when it comes to beekeeping, right? Because organics allow only a particular area, like let's say a 5-kilometer radius. But some studies do show that they travel more than 5. So it's more like a standard that, organics in beekeeping puts as well. Bee behavior, again, it's like very much a complex thing, right? If you keep talking about it, it's like the dance that they do. One bee dances in front of the other one remembers
Waggle
the dance, and
yes.
that's how they communicate, right? Like depending on the figure 8 or direction of the sun.
how far they shake their bums in which direction they go is how far in which direction to find the tree with the flowers on it. Yes.
Consider it like a dance of show, but a way of communicating. Meaning, I'll dance some move, and then Zac remembers it, and he dances me back. That's how the communication goes within the hive. So dancing is a big thing. They love to wiggle and dance, bees. And something I read today was really funny, right? Like something called bees, the male bees, when they mate with the queen, they have an orgasmic death.
Yes.
They explode.
It's got to be the best way to go.
Well, but let's talk about the different roles, right? Because the drone bee, from what I understand, the drones are female?
Other way around.
Oh, okay, they're males.
Yes.
So they're hanging around, sipping the honey. They don't necessarily have all that much to do until the queen wants...
Yeah, it's even more extreme than that. So you have 3 castes within the system. You have the queen, isn't actually the reigning of the hive. You then have the workers, which really do run the hive. The queen is basically enslaved to the workers. If something doesn't happen, they can kill her and replace her. So she has to do her job according to the workers. And then you have the drones at the very bottom, which won't even feed themselves. They literally won't even clean themselves. They get cleaned by the workers, fed by the workers. Everything is provided for them. Their only purpose in life is to leave the hive and mate with a queen from another hive. So they don't even serve their own hive.
And what I understand is that she will basically just steal their bee semen and store it on her.
So when it comes to a mating flight, a virgin princess, once she's hatched, she'll go on a mating flight. Can take up to a week, depending if there's good or bad weather. And this happens up in the stratosphere. So quite a couple of 100 meters up in the air. People have monitored it by sending up weather balloons to try and, with a little queen in a cage attached to the weather balloon and a camera to try and watch it. But yeah, she'll get swamped by about 30 to 40 males, at least that she'll mate with. And the actual amazing thing about the whole process is that when the males do deliver the semen to the queen, it is quite an explosive orgasm. Literally, their penis will explode off their body and they drop to the ground dead instantly.
On one hand, totally brutal, but on the other hand, maybe not the worst way to go.
I could think of worse.
Victory at what cost?
Victory at what cost?
But even more amazing than all of that is the fact that the queen is able to come back to the hive, and whenever she's laying an egg, she herself at any given time can select which of those 40 partners' sperm she wants to use to fertilize any egg at any given time. So they have a very good diversity of genetics within the hive, and she can actually choose in a sperma catheter to be able to actually pick which sperm to use for that egg. And if an egg is not fertilized, it becomes a male bee. To even go further and blow everyone's minds away, a male bee or drone has no father, but has a grandfather.
There's no father, but a grandfather.
Because if an egg is unfertilized, meaning no father, it always will be a drone, a male bee. If you get that same egg and you fertilize it, it will always be a worker. And that same egg, if it's fertilized and put into a bigger cell, will be a queen. So that is really quite amazing. So because of that, the male has no father, but the bee that laid the unfertilized egg has a father. So that's why the male has a grandfather, but no father.
So in fact, the queen is enslaved by the workers.
Yes.
The workers, in fact, are the top
Yes.
caste.
Yes.
So what are the conditions whereby the workers might decide that, you know what, this queen isn't meeting our standards and let's
That's a
move
really
on?
good question. So that's what we call supersedure. So the bees will actually construct a new queen cell, put one of those eggs in to grow a new queen. And once she hatches, she will fight to the death with the reigning queen and replace her. Otherwise, the workers themselves can actually nibble the wings off the original queen or damage her. There's a couple of things they can do to try and get rid of her. A lot of the times at around year 2 or 3, her peak laying performance slows down a little bit. That's when, as a beekeeper yourself, you would want to try and replace a queen just so the colony is performing at its best. Naturally, the bees will want to do that themselves as well.
So when they fight to the death, the incumbent queen and the would-be queen, how often does the old queen win?
Rarely. Usually it's all about the strongest. The strongest will survive. A better example would be when a hive goes to swarm. So when you have a really strong hive, a swarm is when the hive creates a number of new queens in queen cells and they all hatch. And then the old queen leaves the hive because she's scared of all the new queens that have just hatched because they'll try and kill her. She takes off with half of the hive and leaves around half of the hive in the original box with the new virgin queen. And the thing about queens is that they don't have a barb on their stinger like all the other worker bees have a barb. So the worker bees can sting once, but the queen can sting multiple times. So she's much more of a deadly bee and it's much more of a fight to the death. And they can sting each other multiple times.
Is that something you've witnessed yourself?
Yes, especially if you've got a bunch of those queen cells hatching for the swarm. Usually the first queen that hatches will quickly try and go around and sting through the cells of the other unhatched queens in an attempt to get the upper hand.
So that's to make sure that she has the, the area in control.
Yes, it's a brutal world, but it's all about survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if they were the one that survived, they are the fittest and the strongest.
So the first one hatching out keeps the throne.
Most of the time,
siblings have
yes.
to die. It's more like the crown belongs to me. And another thing was like I read that the queen bee, she mates once throughout her lifetime, and she can keep the egg or the sperm active inside her. And I believe the sac she keeps everything is the size of a pinhead, but the amount of sperm cells inside is like 5 to 7 million.
This is incredible.
And she can oxygenate them and keep them alive just by mating once for at least 3 to 5 years, right?
And she can lay up to 10,000 eggs a day
Yeah.
for up to 5 years straight.
That's amazing how the evolution has
10,000 eggs a day for 5 years straight.
Up to, yes. It will slow down after about year 2 or 3. At a peak performance is around 10,000 eggs a day.
And then of those, how many end up getting fertilized?
So she usually decides to fertilize at least 90%.
90%?
Yeah, typically you'll have around 10% drone population within a hive. And that's not really for that hive. That's for all of the bees in the area, so that they continue mating queens and basically keep genetics going.
So what do bees like to feed on?
Nectar and pollen. They'll also collect a little bit of detritus materials and resins as well for sealing parts of the hives or little holes to keep pests and weather out. But mainly nectar, which is their carbohydrates, their form of energy, and pollen, which is their form of protein. So pollen is really important for building bees. So whenever all the eggs are laid, they need to be fed. They are fed mainly bee bread mixture, which is a high protein content pollen, mixed with a bit of nectar. So it's a real mix. That's why we call it a bee bread. That's what they feed it. So basically pollen is for building bees and nectar is really for keeping them alive and going.
feeding and building.
Yep.
Feeding and building. What traits do bees exhibit that seem to you, I mean, do they have a sense of honor? Do they have a sense of duty? Or is it just everything is as you said, a fight to the death, and they're
I don't think they have a sense of self. I think they're very selfless beings. I think they also have a sense of uniformity, a single entity, that they're basically a superorganism.
a superorganism.
Yes, that's what I would call them, a superorganism.
So how, Zac, did you initially get into beekeeping? Was it something your family did? Did you sort of plan to do this, or is it something that you stumbled into?
I've always been growing up in Cairns and being born in the far north Queensland. I've always had a strong connection to environment and everything around us. But no, I didn't have any previous family interests or anything like that. It was actually a form of therapy for me. So I'm still young, but when I was in high school, going through a lot of family dramas, divorce and everything like that. And I needed a bit of something to find some solace. And there was a native beehive that was living in the back retainer wall. And I went out there and watched them every day.
Wow.
And decided I'm interested in them and built a couple of bee boxes. And that was about 8 years ago now. Now we've got quite a few hundred hives, and yeah, never looked back.
That's so cool. That's so cool. So how much is the resulting product, the taste of the resulting product, shaped by the pollen that the bees are collecting?
Yeah, so each tree, every different species of tree will actually produce a different nectar, a different pollen. It's physically a different chemical makeup, so different elements, different, everything. So for example, here I've got a ironbark honey. This is from a eucalypt. It's got a very rough bark. It looks like you'll cut yourself if you rub up against it. This is a very light honey. It's typically a smoky, buttery flavor. And then compared to the darker Bushman's Peg, which is a grevillea, there's a number of other different flavors. As I said, I get around 14 to 15 different flavors through the year as the seasons change. Each one is unique and has its own flavor and also medicinal properties. So a lot of people know about Manuka. Manuka is just like the ironbark or the Bushman's Peg, but it's just from a type of tea tree. So it's a leptospermum, which is just a particular type of tea tree.
You mentioned Manuka, another commercially well-worn brand name thing is Royal Jelly.
Yep.
What is Royal Jelly, and what should we know about it?
Okay, so we'll go back to the story of the egg, how the same egg can be a drone if it's unfertilized, a worker if it's fertilized, or a queen if it's fertilized but put into a bigger cell. There's also one other part of that. So they also feed that fertilized egg that's put into a bigger cell royal jelly, And that also is a chemical mechanism that changes the actual development of the larvae from a worker in combination of the larger size cell to a queen.
So it's like a royal food.
It's a chemical mechanism to actually change
Infant
the
formula. It's a
transformation.
very special infant formula.
Packed with
Yes.
nutrients.
That is hyper nutritious.
Yeah.
Completely life-changing, yeah.
Life-changing.
Without that, it will be a worker.
Yeah.
Without that, it'll be a worker. So the destiny of this bee is shaped by the quality of the honey that it's consuming.
And
You are
this,
what you eat.
this royal jelly is actually a combination of things, but it's secreted from glands within the actual bees themselves. So it's created by the bees. It's not collected.
So my guess is that a lot of the commercially marketed royal jelly is of varying provenance.
Yes, it's quite hard to really certify the potency of a lot of Manuka in Australia and other places, as well as royal jelly. We have a big problem in Australia as well with importation of inferior honeys, or honeys that are actually fake corn syrups, beet syrups and stuff like that, which will actually pass a lot of tests, which are used to actually see if a honey is real or not. So
They will pass a
Yep.
lot of tests, really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why it's so important to know that you have a trusted beekeeper, that the honey is real. It's become quite a polluted industry now.
But aren't there some ethical issues with the royal jelly, right? In the
So-
sense that, I mean, aren't you're sort of
It's not something that I
stealing
collect.
mother's milk in a way?
Yes, that as well as the one that's even worse, which has a very, very high price tag to it, but is ethically not at all humane, is apitoxin collection, the venom collection of bees. And the way that is done is they actually put an electric board inside the hive. It's a glass sheet, and when the bees come into contact with it, it electrocutes them, and they basically push out a bit of nectar, a bit of apitoxin venom in the process of being shocked. So you're basically electrocuting, torturing the hive to try and collect this apitoxin.
Yeah.
The bee venom.
Yes, that's the chemical name.
That's a
of it.
medicinal thing.
So it's used extensively in cosmetics, creams, face creams, anti-aging products, especially some vaccines, and also because it has incredible properties. Beekeepers usually don't have any arthritis, and there's all sorts of other problems that bee stings do cure.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people will actually pay to get stung in certain places as well, because of all the medicinal qualities of apitoxin.
How often do you get stung?
Quite a lot, yes.
Yeah.
Like roughly?
I've been stung
Once
over
a week?
50 times a day, couple
50 times a day?
That was a bad day, yeah.
Oh.
I think it's mentioned that it's straight in front of your house, right? Like 50 hives or something?
That's mainly the native bees. It's a bit hard to get away in a residential setting with stingy bees. Native bees you can.
Yeah.
But the European bees, ones that sting, I have those up on the tablelands on larger properties, and
Right.
mainly tucked away in national parks and rainforests.
And something interesting about the bee sting is there's a compound called isoamyl acetate, IAA, right? That resembles the pheromones. It's similar to the banana smell. So it's a high probability, like if you smell like a banana and you're visiting a beehive, it'll trigger the battle cry. Let's go. That's the time. That's the
In
time.
particular, the lolly banana smell, it's just like that.
The lolly banana.
Yeah, like the Allen's bananas that you
Yeah,
buy, the lolly, it smells just like the fake banana smell.
That's the battle cry, the worst way.
If you smell that, they're definitely grumpy. You need to calm them down or close the hive up.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a funny thing about the bees.
So being stung may not be a bad thing.
No, it's very
you're-
good for you.
It's very good for you, unless
Unless
you're
you have
allergic.
an allergy to it, of course. Yep.
Are there legends of any, beekeepers who happen to be allergic?
I used to work with one. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Allergic beekeeper. Yeah, that was an odd
Wow.
one. Yeah.
That's an odd one.
Yep.
Right?
It wasn't a severe reaction. It was just like a more full body sort of hives, a little bit of swelling, but nothing like anaphylactic or anything like that.
Unless you get stung in the lips or something like that.
Yeah. I have been I've tried to you get a bit hungry when you're working the bees. Sometimes you see all the honey in front of you.
One
Got to eat a chunk and it's got a bee in it. I've been stung in the mouth and throat before.
Mouth and throat.
Yeah, that's my own fault though.
Looks like you had a plastic surgery done, with the solar dip.
Fat lips. Yeah, there's a few photos of fat lips. So you do get stung on the lips. They swell up 2-3 times the size.
So the smoke, what effect does that have on the bees? It calms them down?
Yeah, so you have to think bushfires in the wild. If you're a hive in a tree and you smell smoke coming, what do? You quickly want to gorge on all your honey so you can put as much in your stomach as you can so the hive can leave without leaving basically everything behind. So the idea behind smoke is you're mimicking a bushfire. It also blocks pheromone communication between the bees. So it's a number of factors how it works. They don't like actually being in contact with it, so it's like a herding tool. The bees will go where the smoke isn't.
Oh, right.
So when the bees are at the top of the hive, you can smoke them down into the hive. If you smell that banana smell, the attack pheromone, you can put a lot of smoke in the air to try and block them being able to smell that. It interrupts. And it also stops bees' main want to sting. Their main want now becomes gorging on honey within the hive in preparation to leave because they think there's a fire coming. That's the whole, the way
It's
smoke
more
works.
like an evolutionary thing that they've learned over the years of evolution, millions and millions of evolutions, because they've been here before us, if I'm not wrong, right? Like
and
bees have been here.
There's been, bushfires before people as well, and they've had to figure out how to deal with that.
Yeah.
And that's their way of dealing with it. So we just use that as a tool.
Natural instinct.
So other than bad humans, what other predators do they have to deal with?
So there are a number of pests and diseases. Bees' biggest risk really is humans. 50 years ago, even in Cairns in Australia, you could put your hive in the backyard and leave it there for a couple of years. Probably be okay. But now there's too many pests and diseases just due to humans spreading everything around, connected all through the world. A lot of the really bad ones have originated from Africa. So we have the small hive beetle, and we have the varroa mite now in Australia. There's lots of other smaller pests and diseases. But up here in the wet tropics, the small hive beetle is the biggest problem, just because they come out in numbers in the wet and they can be very destructive to the hive. So they lay a larvae, which is like a maggot, and it will ferment honey within the hive and cause the hive to abscond. And it looks like a slime out. You get sludge that drips out of the front of the hive by the end of it.
Wow. And I believe in Europe, we have the black bears that try to steal it.
Yeah, so bees are racist, if you didn't know. They're quite racist.
Really?
Anoob will get stung far more than I will.
They look at melanin.
So they've evolved trying to basically protect themselves from brown bears and black bears. And so anything that's brown or black, they don't like. And that's why all of our bee suits are white.
Wow.
That's why bee hives are white, as well as to try and reduce temperature. But basically, the lighter a color is, the less of a threat you are to bees. The darker the color is, the more they won't like you. So, even so, if you have a wristband on, or if you pull your black phone out of your pocket, the screen, you'll see them trying to attack the phone instead of you.
So if we got a polar bear out here,
they'll probably be fine.
The polar bear could go rip it apart, and they'd be like, okay, it's a big white guy. There's so many synthetic sweeteners on the market these days, and I just wanted to ask a sort of like sustainability type question. Should we look at honey as an indulgence? Is it something that we should look as like a luxury good, or is honey, something that everyone can have, and that could be a sweetener for mainstream, everyday, global application? Yeah, no, definitely. It should. I'm a strong believer of no sugar. I use honey for everything. Yeah. If you don't like the flavor of that honey, get a honey that you like the flavor of. Lots of different flavors, different uses for different culinary purposes. Like I use a chili and garlic honey for a chili chicken, and we have a rosemary honey here that's good for a roast or pumpkins and stuff like that.
Or if you're just after honey for your cereal or everyday general use, we've got the pure range. We have got, like, if you like a lighter flavor or a darker flavor. It's really trying to find something that works for you. But of course, you've got the everyday honeys, which are more of your pure range, and then you've got the more specialty ranges. And on the very other end of the spectrum, your highly medicinal, potent honeys. That really, it would be a crime to sort of use it on your toast. Where really you want to save something like that for when you're feeling sick or boost your immune system, cuts, infections, stuff like that.
And also, I think culturally, honey plays a huge role.
Yes, of course. So the Australian Aboriginals have a very strong relationship with the native bees. In particular, all the products they actually get from the hive, they use the wax to actually make the mouthpieces on didgeridoos for millennia, and lots of other uses for sealing, different carrying vessels, everything like that. So they have a very strong cultural significance to the Aboriginals. Sugar bag, the actual term sugar bag, which is what we use to describe native bee honey, has come from the Aboriginals.
Right. And also the Egyptians, loved honey.
The embalming.
Yeah,
everyone knows that story. Yeah, finding honey in the Egyptian tombs.
Yeah.
I wouldn't eat it, but it's still it was
Fresh
still
or
honey. It
honey.
crystallized.
Yeah.
It's
Crystallized.
definitely crystallized by that stage. But yeah, you could still know that it was honey.
It's crazy, right? Because I read that these guys used to have clay boxes where they were like not using the wooden ones, but still they found out a way to get rid of the moisture and still preserve it long term for the pharaohs, for their afterlife.
Yeah, and the whole embalming process and everything.
Wow, that's just amazing. And also, I think it's the Vikings that used to drink a lot of mead.
Mead,
Yeah, the world's first alcohol ever made was from honey.
Right.
was from honey.
Yep.
And
so
how
that's
did
what
they make
mead
it?
is. Mead is a combination of honey plus water.
Honey plus water.
Yep. It will ferment, become alcoholic, turn to mead. You leave it longer, it will turn to vinegar.
Historically, honey has been used throughout human civilization.
Sorry to cut ahead. I truly believe we wouldn't even be here as a race if it wasn't for the bees. Just agricultural purposes, all of the production that we get from them. Caveman times, a massive source of energy. If you found a hive, you'll be able to sustain yourself for days and days. The other amazing thing about the bees is every single part of the hive has a use. The wax can be used if a frame becomes old, you melt it down, you can make some candles from it, or even make another frame from it. The honey, even if you have some inferior quality honey, you can make some vinegar, for example, out of it. Every single part of it can be used and reused, and nothing will go to waste for the hive.
And remember the quote from Muhammad Ali, fly like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Yes.
Sting like a bee. That's a great quote. So Anoob, we've talked about a number of different things that we are growing, that we are thinking about growing. One thing that we both got really excited about was the apiary, the honey, and we were lucky to meet Zac and establish this relationship. But tell us a little bit about what got you excited, what your passion for honey.
Right, my passion for honey came from my dad. He does a bit of his own apiary, because we have what we call as a seasonal honey back home, which is in the southern part of India. We have rubber trees. So rubber trees go into full bloom. It's like a fixed window. So we usually let our own estate workers have their own hives. We don't charge them or anything. They just leave the hives inside for a certain few months time. And when they take them hives back, they'll gift us jars of honey. We're happy with it.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, we're happy with it. For them, it's their main source of income, right? So it's like they travel across, like looking for nice blooming areas. And when the estate comes into bloom, we just let them keep the honey hive, and we get it. So watching it was always inspiring for me, but I'm always scared to put my hand in there. But my dad was always instrumental in getting me in there. And interest kicked on from there. Went on to study my agriculture, and beekeeping is a part of it. And we have a special honey back home. It's called YMCA, which is a Young Men's Christian Association's, own brand of honey, which is really popular, right? You get this, the color, the emerald kind of
Yep.
It's golden huey. It's so good.
Lovely.
And it smells delicious, tastes good. So yeah, we have to still have our own hive, but it's again a seasonal thing. It comes and goes. It's not a fixed thing.
I'd love to try some of that.
And yeah, that's what got me an interest. So I went on to do a diploma again, a 6-month course in beekeeping as well from YMCA, and then got into the organics as organic certification officer. I was taking care of the beekeeping certifications and everything related to that. So the more I got involved into it, the more I learned, and I'm still learning from experts. Someone like Zac, who's like always, like hands-on in the industry.
No, that's great, and it's great, and it's great to see how forthcoming Zac is about his knowledge. You're not keeping it close to your chest. I mean, you're on one hand, you're selling your products. We're really happy to promote them, but you're also helping us start our line of products, and we're excited about our infusions with vanilla and some of the flavor combinations that are particular to us, so from that standpoint, it's really cool that I'm
very passionate about that. I think that's
helping us out.
Extremely important. I mean, if you look at the average age of a beekeeper, it's a dying industry. It's around 80 for the average age of a beekeeper. So I'm quite young as far as that, and really just trying to, increase the awareness of beekeeping, inspire the next generation, not hold information to your chest, because you're not going to forward the industry by doing that. You're trying to teach as much as you can, and beekeeping is a very location-specific thing. So a lot of people will spend a year learning beekeeping in America when they're in Australia, and they go to do it, and it's like, oh, I learned all that for nothing. Nothing applies. Everything's different.
Yeah,
everything's different.
So yeah, it's quite important to try and teach on what you have learned, especially about your local area.
Definitely.
It's a local business in so many ways. I mean, so much of it is localized. Like, let's talk a little bit about this amazing unknown. There's a mystery, and I've been, uncovering this mystery as to what yield are we going to get? What taste, what flavor are we going to get? We don't really know. We can guess. We can make an educated guesstimate, but the bees have lives of their own.
Yes,
right?
and it will be different every season.
And it'll be different every season. And they decide to find the moringa here, or they like those flowers there. Who knows what they bring back to the hive? And chemically, what's happening inside of that hive, there's nothing simple about that.
It'll be unique, a situation, that hive to another hive, even down the road, be chemically
even down
unique.
the road. But I mean, they could be hanging out in this zone here, right?
Yep. So it's that waggle dance. If one hive particularly says this is where to go, then the rest of those bees will go there. If another hive says this is where to go, then the rest of those bees will go there. So you could have a varying different nectar sources within your frames. And the bees actually store nectar from the same tree together in the same frame. So typically you have 10 frames within a hive. You could have 10 different flavors of honey.
10 different flavors of honey.
And a rough estimate, what do you think? Like per hive, how many kilograms?
So per frame, you can have, if the frame is completely full and capped, ready to harvest, up to 3 kilos of honey weight per frame.
Per frame. And per hive, what are we
So you got 10 frames per box. That's about 30 kilos of honey per box. Typically, you usually get around 2 harvests a year. But in a new area like this, we'll have to wait for our first season to come through to fully understand what we'll be getting. But generally, at least 30 kilos a year. If you get a good season, you manage to get 2 harvests, 60 kilos.
60 kilos. That's a lot of honey. And something that's really worrying, like organic beekeeping is completely fine. But when you have a area like intensive cropping areas, right? Monoculture farms, then they spray with a lot of chemicals. I believe, if I'm not wrong, there are traces of pesticides and stuff inside the honey as well, no?
Yeah, so that's why I worked commercially. I saw it all. I want to stay far away from it. The amount of pesticides and chemicals used on farms is ridiculous. People spray when they don't need to spray. They spray into when it's just been raining, pools of water, the bees drink from that water. They leave chemical bottles open. The bees like the smell of all this stuff. And if you spray a crop with an insecticide, it actually becomes visibly more attractive to a bee. And neonicotinoids, all these things that affect their actual nervous system, paralyze them. They forget how to get home. Terrible ways to go. They basically suffer until their death.
It's more like we've contaminated our own food chain, right? Like starting from the oceans where we have mercury poisoning, and now the crops, they got contaminated with herbicides, pesticides.
Yeah, the worst I've seen is like berry farms. Even up here, we don't even have pests and diseases, which they are required to spray chemicals for. We don't even have them up here, but they're required to spray them to get into market down south where the farms are making their money. So they're spraying chemicals on these berries. They don't even need to, but it's just for paperwork reasons. That's how bad it's getting.
It's always money that messes people's mind, right? If money comes first before the wellness and health, then it's an issue everywhere.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about our setup here. Do you think we can approach a little bit?
Yeah, I can pop my suit on and start the smoker if you like, and go over there and have a bit of a look.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you got some protection gear with you if you want to get a bit closer? Otherwise, I'm happy to hold a camera and walk in a bit as well.
We both have the suit on.
No worries.
And that concludes today's episode. We'll be sharing the apiary clips that followed this conversation on our YouTube channel. Thank you for listening to Vanilla Club Podcast. Smash that like button.